So where are we in terms of reaching full employment? Are we at that magic number?
I I'm glad I'm not on the Fed, first of all, because here's what we have in front of us, right? So we have an economy or a labor market that in many ways is acting like a duck and quacking like a duck. It is, there is, the beverage curve, with the ratio of job openings to unemployment appears robust. The nominal wage gains are strong. The relationship between job quits and reduction in unemployment, even the broadest measures of unemployment, the U6 is has declined. U6 has declined by half of a percentage point in the last 2 months each. One more decline like that.
Gordon, could you define U6 for?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So, thank you for asking. The unemployment rate, the headline unemployment rate that everybody looks at is actually the U3, and it is basically the ratio of the number of workers who are unemployed over the number of workers who are actively looking for a job. When you but that surely doesn't characterize the totality of the labor market. You have people who are who want a job but aren't necessarily actively applying. So you have a continuum of labor market participation, and the U3 is kind of the consensus measure of, or a measure of kind of substantially captures those people who you would generally characterize as, all right, these are people who we should view as our labor force, and that's kind of how we define our labor force.
Or the narrowest definition.
Yeah. Well, and then you have a narrower definition depending on sort of how long you've been looking, et cetera. But yeah, fundamentally, the labor force is the denominator used in the unemployment rate. But when you can broaden that to include people who may not be actively looking, but people who still want a job, people who've lost hours, people who've had to work part-time because of the economy. And so when you broaden the denominator, and there's a little bit of change to the numerator there too, but you get a broader measure of unemployment, and that's the number that we call the U6. And it is a more expansive measure, and so and because that it's a bigger number, so some people don't, and since we all, I'm talking from Washington, D.C., so I can't ignore the political context. So there's always, from whichever administration is there or whoever has sort of a vested interest in the outlook for the administration, usually doesn't like the bigger number. And the inverse is true for if you're not in power, but it does tell an important story that observers need to be mindful of. And we're getting close to one of the all-time lows in the U6. One more half a percentage point decline, we'll get to 6.8%. And so when you have the broadest measure of unemployment at or approaching all-time lows, the normal unemployment rate with a 3 handle, nominal wage gains looking incredibly strong, it is acting like an economy at full employment. And there's certainly nothing in the report, in my view, to dissuade the Fed from its likely course of tightening next year. But then again, there's a lot of other things going on in this labor market that are unique and strange. And so I think, like I said, the indicators that we've been getting from the labor reports shouldn't dissuade the Fed from their likely course of action, but they're going to have to pay close attention as they proceed with tightening monetary policy.